Hello dear students. Look at this picture. Can you identify the objects in it? What are they called? Have you come across them anywhere? Who uses them? It's a picture of an alien spaceship, which is a vehicle used to travel in space. We can also call it as UFO, which means unidentified flying object. Look at this picture. Is this a picture of a human? If no, what makes you think so? How does this alien differ from humans? Students, if you clearly notice the picture, the eyes, nose, and ears are different and weird. These type of creatures are known as aliens. The word alien has two different meanings. One is a person coming from a different country, race or group. We call that person as a foreigner. Another meaning is relating to creatures from another planet. This is an alien relating to creatures from another planet. Dear students, in today's class, we will understand an interesting play, The Collectors. This is a play about the encounter of a group of teachers and students on an adventure walk in a lonely countryside with two aliens, creatures from another planet. The aliens have taken the form of humans, and hence the group takes shelter in their spaceship, mistaking it for a house. Let us read the play to find out how aliens try to abduct, which means kidnap the teachers and students, and what happened to them. Before we begin the play, we'll know about the characters. Students are Pete, Carol, Tracy, Glenn, Wayne, Don. Teachers are Mr. Hunt, Miss Swan, Mrs. Jones. Occupants of the house are Mrs. Brown and Mr. Brown. Please open your textbook, students. Page number 44. Scene: lonely countryside. The children are out for an adventure walk with teachers. It is raining hard. Miss Swan, isn't that somewhere we can shelter? Mr. Hunt, not until we get to the village. Mrs. Jones, how far is that? Mr. Hunt, nearly 3 miles. Don, 3 miles? Tracy, I'm soaked. Miss Swan, the children are getting very wet. Mr. Hunt, I can't help that. We will just have to press on. Pete, can't we shelter over there, sir? Mr. Hunt, where? Pete, there, in that house. Mr. Hunt, that's not a house, surely. Hard to see in all the rain. Miss Swan, of course it is. Try wiping your glasses. Mr. Hunt, you are right. Lonely place to choose for a house. It certainly wasn't there when I was here walking last summer. Mrs. Jones, funny looking place. Miss Swan, are we just going to stand here in the downpour gaping at it? Don, yes. Can't we go up there and ask for shelter, sir? Mr. Hunt, we can't take all you crowd into a private house. You are dripping wet. Mrs. Jones, there is probably a shed or garage. We could shelter there. Miss Swan, we can at least ask. Wayne, yes sir, why not? Tracy, I'm freezing. Mr. Hunt, oh, all right. Meanings of new words: dripping, very wet; freezing, very cold; gaping, wide open, or to look in great surprise at someone or something, especially with an open mouth. Moving on to the explanation. Once again, we'll know about the characters. Students are Pete, Carol, Tracy, Glenn, Wayne, Don. Teachers are Mr. Hunt, Miss Swan, Mrs. Jones. Occupants of the house are Mrs. Brown, Mr. Brown. Teachers and students were out for an adventure walk and it was raining heavily. Miss Swan asked Mr. Hunt, who had been to that place earlier, for any shelter. But Mr. Hunt replies that they could get a shelter only after reaching the village, which is 3 miles away. Students who were listening to the conversation of the teachers were surprised to see the house in the lonely place. Pete eagerly shows the house to Mr. Hunt. Mr. Hunt remarks that the house wasn't there when he had been there the previous summer. Mrs. Jones says that it is a funny looking place. Miss Swan inquires Mr. Hunt whether they have to stand and gaze at the rain. Don inquires with Mr. Hunt whether they could ask shelter in the house. But Mr. Hunt denies, saying that it was not decent to take all crowd who were dripping into a private house. Mrs. Jones suggests that they could take shelter in a shed or garage. Since the children are wet and cold, finally they all decided to approach the house for shelter. Even though the teachers and students were surprised to see the house in the lonely place, still they decided to approach the same house for shelter. After going into the house, what will happen to them? We'll know about that in the next class. Bye for now. Thank you. Have a nice day.